The text from Marcus flashed across my phone screen. Don't wait up. Moving my things out tonight. We need to talk. I stared at those words, my hands trembling slightly as I sat in my tiny home office. After 12 years of marriage, this was how he chose to do it, with a text message that felt as cold as the November rain pattering against my window. My name is Emma Chen, and at 34, I was about to watch my marriage crumble because my husband couldn't handle my failure anymore. The irony was, I had spent the last decade supporting his climb up the corporate ladder, putting my own dreams on hold while he chased promotion after promotion. When I heard the front door open later that evening, I was still at my desk, staring at the same spreadsheet I'd been trying to focus on all day. Marcus's footsteps echoed through our house. The house he'd insisted we buy in the prestigious part of town. The one that ate up most of our savings, but matched his new position. There you are, he said, standing in the doorway of my office. Still trying to make something of yourself. His voice dripped with disdain as he looked around the small room, taking in my modest setup. The secondhand desk, the aging laptop, the collection of self-help books on entrepreneurship. I turned to face him, trying to keep my voice steady. Marcus, what's going on? What's this about moving your things? He let out a bitter laugh, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. Come on, Emma. You can't be surprised. Look at you, still playing at running your little consulting business while I'm out there actually making something of myself. I just made VP at TechCorp. Do you know what that means? I knew exactly what it meant. I'd been there through every step of his journey, from junior developer to team lead to director, and now vice president of technology. I'd been the one who stayed up late proofreading his presentations, who organized networking dinners at our house, who put her own career aspirations aside to be the supportive wife he needed. I'm happy for your success, Marcus, I said quietly. But what does that have to do with our marriage? He paced the room, his expensive shoes clicking against the hardwood floors I'd picked out when we first bought the house. Everything, Emma. It has everything to do with our marriage. I'm moving up in the world. I'm going to be attending board meetings, charity galas, industry events. I need someone by my side who understands that world, who can navigate those social circles. Not someone who's, he gestured vaguely at my workspace, stuck in a rut. The words hit like physical blows, but I refused to let him see how much they hurt. I've supported you through everything, Marcus. I've been there. That's exactly the problem. He cut me off. You've been there, just there. Not growing, not achieving, just existing. Do you know how embarrassing it is when people ask what my wife does, and I have to explain your little consulting business that barely brings in any money? I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I started this business because I wanted to build something of my own. You know that. And it's growing slowly, but... Slowly? He laughed again, the sound harsh and mocking. Emma, you made what last year? $30,000? That's not a business, that's a hobby. Meanwhile, I'm making 7 figures, moving in circles you can't even imagine. I need someone who matches my ambition, my drive. Someone like Claire. The name hung in the air between us, and suddenly everything clicked into place. Claire Thompson, the new head of marketing at TechCorp. Tall, polished from old money, everything Marcus thought I wasn't. How long? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He at least had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. Does it matter? Claire understands me, Emma. She gets what it takes to succeed in this world. She's not afraid to take risks, to put herself out there. I thought about all the risks I'd taken for him, leaving my stable job at a consulting firm to support his career moves, investing our savings in his executive training programs, even starting my own business so I could have a flexible schedule to manage our life while he climbed the corporate ladder. I've taken plenty of risks, Marcus, I said, my voice growing stronger. I've just taken them for you instead of myself. He waved his hand dismissively. And look where that got you. Face it, Emma, you're not cut out for success. You're too comfortable with mediocrity. I watched as he moved around the room, picking up the few personal items he kept in my office, a framed photo from our wedding day, a coffee mug I'd given him for our 10th anniversary. Each item disappeared into the expensive leather briefcase he bought himself to celebrate his last promotion. I've already found an apartment, he said, not meeting my highs. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce proceedings. I'm willing to be generous with the settlement, considering everything. The condescension in his voice made my blood boil. Considering what, Marcus? Considering that I put my life on hold to support your dreams. That I believed in you when nobody else did. He finally looked at me, his expression a mixture of pity and contempt. No, Emma. Considering that without me, you'd be nothing. Look around. Everything you have is because of my success. This house, your little office, even your clients, they all came through my connections. I'm willing to let you keep enough to maintain a comfortable life, but let's not pretend you earned any of this. I sat there, stunned by the cruelty of his words. This was the man I'd loved for 12 years, the one I'd supported through late nights and stressful projects, through failures and successes. And now he was standing here, reducing our entire marriage to a transaction, treating me like a charity case he'd grown tired of supporting. Get out, I said quietly, then louder when he didn't move. Get out. He smirked, adjusting his designer tie. Already leaving, dear. Enjoy your consulting. He spat the last word like it was dirty, then turned and walked out of my office. I listened as he moved through the house, heard the sound of more things being packed, drawers opening and closing. Each noise felt like another crack in the foundation of the life I thought we were building together. When the front door finally closed behind him, I sat in the growing darkness of my office, my mind racing. Marcus thought he'd won, thought he'd broken me. But as I sat there, something shifted inside me. The pain was still there, but it was being overshadowed by something else. Determination. I opened my laptop, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. For years, I'd been playing it safe, taking on small consulting projects while supporting Marcus's ambitions. But maybe he was right about one thing. I had been too comfortable, too willing to stay in the background. I pulled up my client list, the one Marcus thought was worthless because it wasn't filled with Fortune 500 companies. But what he didn't understand was that these small businesses, these startups and entrepreneurs, they had something his precious corporate world lacked. Potential for real innovation. As I scrolled through my projects, a plan began to take shape. I've been developing a framework for helping companies streamline their operations using AI and machine learning, something I'd kept quiet about because Marcus always dismissed my ideas as small thinking. But what if I stopped playing small? What if I took all the knowledge I'd gained watching Marcus navigate the tech world, combined it with my own expertise, and built something bigger than either of us had imagined? I opened a new document and started typing, my fingers flying across the keyboard as ideas poured out. By the time the sun rose the next morning, I had the outline of a business plan that made my heart race with excitement and just a touch of fear. Marcus thought he was leaving me with nothing, but he'd actually given me something invaluable: freedom. Freedom from his constant criticism, from the pressure to fit into his world, from the suffocating feeling of being someone's accessory instead of their partner. I saved the document and named it Phoenix Rising, because that's what I was going to do. Rise from the ashes of this marriage and build something that would make Marcus's precious VP title look like child's play. And I couldn't wait to see his face when he realized just how wrong he'd been about me. 3 years can change everything. I stood in front of the mirror in my hotel suite, adjusting the sleek black blazer that perfectly complemented my tailored dress. My reflection showed someone very different from the woman Marcus had left that night, not just in appearance, but in the confidence that radiated from every movement. As I finally went to bed that morning, exhausted but energized, I couldn't help but smile. Marcus had no idea what he just set in motion. He thought he was writing me off as a failure, but really he was giving me the push I needed to become something more than he could ever imagine. Little did he know, in 3 years' time we'd meet again. But this time, the power dynamic would be very different. The Tech Innovation Awards were starting in an hour, and my heart raced with anticipation. Not nerves, not anymore. I'd earned my place here. The journey hadn't been easy. After Marcus left, I threw myself into building what would become AI Operations Solutions. AIOS for short. Those first few months were brutal. I sold the house he'd been so proud of, moved into a tiny apartment, and poured everything I had into developing my AI framework. My small client list, the one Marcus had mocked, became my testing ground. I refined my system, gathering data and proof of concept from businesses willing to take a chance on something new. Each success, each improvement, brought me closer to what I knew could be revolutionary. The turning point came 9 months after Marcus left. I was presenting my framework at a small tech conference. the kind Marcus would have considered beneath him. In the audience sat Sarah Martinez, a venture capitalist known for backing female founders. She cornered me after my presentation, her eyes bright with interest. "This is exactly what the industry needs," she'd said, handing me her card. "Let's talk about making it bigger." With Sarah's backing, AIO was transformed from a one-woman consulting operation into a real company. We expanded the framework, hired developers, and started targeting larger clients. The results spoke for themselves. Companies using our system saw efficiency improvements of up to 40%. By the end of the second year, we had offices in 3 cities and a client list that included some of the most innovative companies in tech. The same industry that had once seemed closed to me was now embracing what we built. And now, standing in this hotel suite preparing for the Tech Innovation Awards, I couldn't help but appreciate the irony. TechCorp, Marcus's precious company, was one of our competitors for Most Innovative Enterprise Solution of the Year. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. "Come in," I called out, knowing it would be Sarah. She burst into the room with her usual energy, already dressed in a stunning red gown. "Ready to make history?" she asked, grinning. I smiled back, grabbing my clutch. More than ready. The ballroom was already filling up when we arrived. The tech industry's elite mingled over champagne, all dressed in their finest. I recognized faces from magazine covers and news articles, people who 3 years ago would have intimidated me. Now they were peers, competitors, potential partners. "Emma," a familiar voice called out. I turned to see David Chen, CEO of Rapid Tech, one of our biggest clients. He made his way over, champagne glass in hand. "The woman of the hour. I've been telling everyone about what your system did for our operations. Revolutionary, absolutely revolutionary." I chatted with David for a few minutes, aware of the eyes on us. In this industry, such public endorsement from a CEO of his stature meant something. As we talked, I caught glimpses of people pointing in our direction, whispering behind their hands. Then I saw him. Marcus stood near the bar, his arm around Claire's waist. He was scanning the room with that same superior expression he'd always worn at these events. His eyes passed over me once, then snapped back, his whole body going still. I watched as recognition dawned on his face, followed quickly by confusion. I looked nothing like the woman he'd left 3 years ago. Gone were the self-help books and hesitant demeanor. In their place stood someone who commanded attention, who belonged in this room full of industry leaders. Claire noticed his reaction and followed his gaze. Her perfectly made-up face twisted slightly when she saw me. She leaned up to whisper something in his ear, but he barely seemed to notice. I turned back to my conversation with David, pretending I hadn't seen them. But I could feel Marcus's eyes following me as I moved through the room, greeting people, sharing laughs with Sarah, being very much not the failure he predicted I'd be. The awards ceremony began, and we all took our seats. Marcus and Claire were several tables away, but I could still see them clearly. He kept glancing in my direction, his expression growing increasingly tense. The categories went by one. Best mobile solution, most innovative startup, excellence in cybersecurity. Finally, the category we'd all been waiting for, most innovative enterprise solution. The nominees are, the announcer's voice boomed through the room, TechCorp for their Cloud Sync platform. I saw Marcus straighten in his chair, that familiar smug smile playing at his lips. Rapid Tech for their distributed processing system. David gave me a knowing wink from his table. And iOS for their revolutionary AI operations framework. The screen behind the stage showed our company logo, along with clips from our product demo. I caught a glimpse of Marcus's face. He had gone completely pale. The winner for their groundbreaking approach to enterprise operations and unprecedented efficiency improvements, iOS. The room erupted in applause. Sarah squeezed my arm as I stood, making my way to the stage. Each step felt like triumph. Each click of my heels against the floor a reminder of how far I'd come. As I took the stage, I could see Marcus clearly. He sat frozen, his champagne glass forgotten in his hand, staring at me like he was seeing a ghost. Claire was tugging at his sleeve, trying to get his attention, but he couldn't seem to look away. I stepped up to the microphone, my voice steady and clear. "Thank you. This award means so much because it validates what we at AIOS have always believed. that true innovation comes from understanding the real challenges businesses face, not just chasing the next big trend. I paused, my eyes sweeping the room. 3 years ago, I was told I didn't have what it takes to succeed in this industry, that I was too comfortable with mediocrity. I saw Marcus flinch. But what some see as mediocrity, others recognize as careful observation, as understanding the fundamentals before trying to revolutionize them. The rest of my speech passed in a blur of thank yous and acknowledgments. As I left the stage, award in hand, I could see Marcus making his way toward me through the crowd. I stepped into a quiet corridor off the main ballroom, knowing he would follow. Sure enough, moments later I heard his voice behind me. Emma. I turned slowly, taking in his appearance. He looked older than I remembered, lines of stress creasing his forehead. His VP position probably wasn't everything he dreamed it would be. Hello, Marcus, I said calmly. He shifted uncomfortably. I had no idea you were behind AIOS. Why didn't you tell me? I raised an eyebrow. Tell you? When exactly? When you were telling me I was nothing without you? Or when you were moving in with Claire? He had the grace to look embarrassed. I may have been harsh, but you have to admit you've changed. The Emma I knew wouldn't have been capable of building something like this. No, I said firmly. The Emma you knew was capable of exactly this. She just spent too much time believing what you told her about herself. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Look, maybe we should talk. Now that clearly you've grown. Maybe we could. Stop. I held up my hand. If you're about to suggest who I think you are, don't. I didn't build AIOS to prove anything to you, Marcus. I built it because I finally believed in myself enough to try. But we could be powerful together, he pressed. Think about it, your innovation, my connections. I laughed, the sound echoing in the empty corridor. Your connections. Marcus, half the people in that room are either my clients or my investors. I don't need your connections anymore. His face hardened. So that's it. You're just going to dismiss everything we had. Like you dismissed me? I shook my head. No, Marcus. I'm not dismissing anything. I'm thanking you. He blinked, confused. Thanking me? Yes. If you hadn't shown me exactly who you were that night, I might have spent years trying to be what you wanted. Instead, you freed me to become who I actually am. I could see the moment it hit him, the realization that he had not only lost me but had inadvertently pushed me toward becoming someone far beyond what he'd imagined possible. Emma, Ms. Chen, one of my team members appeared at the end of the corridor. I smiled at my no Sarah. I showed him who I always was. He just never bothered to look. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of celebrations and conversations about AIOS's future. Marcus and Claire left early. I saw them slipping out, him looking deflated, her shooting daggers in my direction. Later that night, back in my hotel suite, I placed the award on the desk next to my laptop. The golden statue caught the light, sending reflections dancing across the walls. 3 years ago, I'd sat in a dark office, feeling like my world was ending. Now I was here, having built something I was truly proud of. Employee. I'll be right there. Turning back to Marcus, I added, Goodbye, Marcus. Good luck with the CloudSync platform. I hear it's adequate. I walked away, leaving him standing there in the corridor. My heels clicked against the floor, each step taking me further from the woman he tried to convince me I was. Back in the ballroom, I was immediately surrounded by well-wishers and potential clients. Sarah appeared at my side, champagne in hand. Was that who I think it was? She asked quietly. I nodded, taking the glass she offered. Just ghosts from the past. She grinned. Well, I'd say you just showed that ghost exactly who Emma Chen really is. I clinked my glass against hers, smiling. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app, where I still kept that original document, Phoenix Rising. The business plan I'd written that first night had evolved significantly, but the core idea remained the same. Build something meaningful, something that would help others while proving to myself that I was capable of more than anyone had imagined. As I got ready for bed, I caught my reflection in the mirror again. The woman looking back at me wasn't just successful or powerful. She was complete. Not because she'd proven her ex-husband wrong, but because she'd finally proven herself right. Marcus had tried to write me off as worthless, but in doing so, he inadvertently helped me discover my true value. And that was worth more than any award, any vindication, any moment of seeing his face fall as he realized what he'd thrown away. I was Emma Chen, founder and CEO of AIOS, and I was exactly who I was meant to be.